education is a wonderful occupation. Teaching is, I always said, you know, if you have a year and you change one or two people's lives in that year of classes that you teach them, if you change one life and make one life better, it's been a great year. It's funny how many students remember you, you know, and students are always coming up to me and saying, Rod, I had you in 1993, and do you remember me? And I generally can say I remember the face. I can't always attach a name to a face, but it's a good feeling. So somewhere around 77, I got a call from Olney Central, and they invited me down to run their study skills center. Chuck Novak was the president at that particular time. And I went down, interviewed, but that's what I was doing at Murray State University already. And so it didn't appeal to me, so I politely refused and went on. And then about 2 or 3 months later, Bonnie Burns, who was one of the original members of the faculty at Lincoln Trail, I think there were 7 who started the college. And she was a graduate of Murray State University. We received a Title III grant. She wanted to administer that. I kind of wanted to go into administration, but she was teaching history and math at Lincoln Trail. So she called the college, she called Murray, to Dean Harrell, who was one of my advisors. And she said, do you have someone with a degree in history that might be interested in coming to teach 2 quarters at Lincoln Trail? And she said, and Dean Harrell said, Rod Harmon he got his MA 6 months ago or whatever. He might be interested, I'll give him a ring. He called me, I came to Murray, long story short, and remember John Schulte and Bonnie and Lou Alkus was the dean, and they interviewed me to teach 2 quarters. It would have been the winter quarter and the spring quarter. And even though I had a good job at Murray, the idea of teaching history was so appealing that I said yes. And some of the stories that came out of those staff meetings are just priceless. I remember one lady was at the staff meeting. She was very upset because she had found in her classroom chalk dust in the chalk tray. And then later, a week or so later, she'd gotten a van and found cigarette ashes in the ashtray. And she was going on about how we were going to hell in a handbasket and what we were going to do. And finally, Steve McDevitt, who was one of my favorite people, said, you know, if really all we have to do is worry about chalk dust and the cigarette ash in the trash tray, said this has got to be the greatest community college in the history of the United States. And that kind of quieted her down a little bit. I developed a class called, keep in mind this was long ago and Vietnam wasn't at ancient history. I developed a class called History of Vietnam. I'd been drafted and, you know, and did the little stuff in the Army. And well, I wasn't a very good recruit. I've always often maintained I was probably the worst history and the worst student, or worst soldier in the U.S. history of the U.S. Army. Anyway, developed this class from Vietnam, and I went to the foundation board, and I'd asked them for 13 tapes. The history, it was broken into PBS tapes, and they had made 13 tapes. I think the whole shebang was worth about, I think it cost $130 to get the tapes. So I built a class around the tapes. And the way we were doing on a Tuesday, Thursday class, Tuesday I'd come in and lecture. And then Thursday, we would see a film of what I had lectured on Tuesday. And so Thursday, the way it went, I would go to, we had a little room where all the TVs were and the VCRs. I'd come in, I'd throw the tape on the desk and my notes or whatever. And then I'd run to this room, unlock the door, get a camera and TV, bring it out, put it in the room, hook it up, throw the tape in, and we'd be off and running. That was the routine. Well, one day, Thursday, I went, tape on the desk, went and got the TV, brought it in, plugged it in, took the tape, puts the tape in, and it was a triple porno, triple X, right in the middle of the tape. And I'm up there and I'm trying like hell to get the TV turned off. The class is roaring, they're down in the floor. And I'm thinking, how did that porno tape get in my Vietnam tapes? And it turned out the students had made an exchange of my porno tape with the videotape while I had gone to get the TV. They thought that was the greatest coup probably in academic history. And anyway, it was years later, one of my students came to me and said he was the one who had he had dreamed up that little incident. But it was one of those funny things that the thing I remember most though was trying to turn the TV off, and I couldn't find the right button. My tests were always short answer and essay. 3 essay questions, pick 2, answer 2, and short answer questions were, something short answer. And one of the questions I always asked the students was history. What is history? You know, it's a simple question, but you got to think of history. What is it? And I got a lot of great answers over the years. The best answer I ever got, and I don't know if he read it somewhere or if it was his own answer, but he wrote, "History's just one damn thing after another." And I looked at that answer and I laughed, and I still laugh about that, because I don't know how you grade that answer, you know. It certainly is accurate. I've served in one capacity or another with every president we've had at Lincoln Trail College, from piling on. Some were better than others, some were outstanding, some were less than outstanding. But it was a great choice and a great 40 years. I often think when I was working in the Study Skills Center at Murray and the phone rang, I wonder if I'd been in the bathroom or something, had gone to do something else, and I'd missed Dean Harrell's phone call asking me if I wanted to go to Robinson and check out a history job. I wonder if I'd missed that call, how my life would have changed. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that school and how much it's done for me. And as a foundation person, we've done some good stuff out there. The foundation, and I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about the foundation. When I started, we were doing maybe $15,000 in scholarships. And now, 20 years later, we're doing $200,000 in scholarships. And that's the work of a lot of good people in the community and a lot of good people at Lincoln Trail College. When I'm gone, and I guess my legacy, I hope my legacy is Miller Lake, because when I came, Miller Lake was a slough. It was a swamp. It was grown up, and there were telephone poles in it, and it was just a mess. And when I got selected to the board, one of the questions that we raised was Miller Lake. And one of the things we had to decide what to do with it. Some of the board wanted to cut the levee, take a dozer, go in, cut the levee, fill it in, and sow it down in grass. I didn't want to. I said, once we lose Miller Lake and the potential of Miller Lake, if we do that, we'll never have a lake. It'll be gone, and we'll never come back and revisit that and do it again. So we talked, and there were some people in the community who indicated they would help. And finally the board said, yeah, okay, we'll spend some substantial money. And we did. And what we see now is Miller Lake, and it's a beautiful part of the campus. We've got walking paths around it, and we got the fountain. Very often we measure success, and we measure what we've done in our lives. And I guess there's variables that you can look at. How much money you have, how big your house is, that sort of thing. And those are all good, all positive. But again, I think, I'm kind of repeating myself, but I think the thing that is most significant to me is I really believe that we've made a difference in people's lives. And I think contributing what little I've contributed to Lincoln Trail over the 35, 40 years, I think if we change a few lives, and I believe we have, I think that's when the end of the road comes, that's what I'll remember most, is the few lives that we may have altered and made their lives better. Being on the faculty has brought enjoyment in my life. The stories that history, I'm a good history teacher because I think history is basically stories, and I've always had good, not bragging, but I've had a good rapport with students. And students they've always seemingly developed something other than a teacher-student relationship. I think it's all about personalities, and my personality is history-oriented. I love to tell stories, and that's what history is, a story. And so I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of the little role that I played in changing lives. Because I really do believe that history, not history, but education is about changing lives. And like I said, I couldn't have picked a better occupation.